5-second rule. According to the 5-second rule, food that is dropped on the floor is okay to eat so long as it is picked up within 5 seconds. But should fallen food really be going into the trash instead of into our mouths? Scientific research has put the 5-second rule to the test, and the answer is, it depends. The length of time food spends on the floor isn't the only determining factor when it comes to food safety. Researchers at Rutgers University tested 4 different types of flooring: stainless steel, ceramic tile, wood, and carpet, and 4 different foods: watermelon, plain white bread, buttered bread, and gummy bears. They coated the surface of each flooring with bacteria. Then, they dropped each food sample on each type of flooring and left it there for 4 different time increments: less than 1 second, 5 seconds, 30 seconds, and 300 seconds. With all the varying factors, there were 128 possible combinations. On top of that, the researchers repeated each combination 20 times, which means they conducted a total of 2,560 experiments. That might seem excessive, but the more time an experiment is replicated, the more accurate the results. When compared to multiple experiments, anomalies, irregular results, stick out and can be discounted when evaluating the data. When the researchers analyzed each dropped food sample, they found that indeed, the longer food spent on the floor, the more contaminated with bacteria it became. However, each food that was in contact with the floor for less than a second still had some degree of bacterial contamination. There is no 5-second grace period before which bacteria get on food. Bacteria transfer occurs instantly. Make a quick prediction as to which food type you think would pick up the most bacteria: watermelon, gummy bears, bread, or buttered bread. The food that showed the highest amount of bacterial contamination was watermelon, followed by buttered bread, with gummy bears having the least. Researchers concluded that a food's moisture content affects how much bacteria it picks up. The wetter the food, the greater the bacteria transfer. Bacteria get soaked up by the moisture in the food. That's why the food with the most water content, watermelon, had the greatest bacterial contamination. Which flooring type do you hypothesize led to the least amount of bacteria transfer? Carpet, wood, stainless steel, or ceramic tile? The answer is carpet. Stainless steel and ceramic tile consistently yielded the greatest bacterial contamination. The results from wood were inconsistent, showing varying levels of contamination. Stainless steel and ceramic tile are non-absorbent surfaces, while carpet is porous. A porous surface absorbs moisture, while non-porous surfaces, like stainless steel and ceramic tile, do not. On the carpet, the food became less wet because the carpet absorbed the moisture of the food. And, as previously stated, the drier the food, the fewer the bacteria it picks up. Also, more of the food comes into contact with smooth surfaces than rough surfaces like carpet. When food is on carpet, there are gaps between the individual fibers. The parts of the food over the gaps make no contact and so can't pick up bacteria. In a similar study conducted by Clemson University, less than 1% of the bacteria on carpet transferred to the fallen food. When the food was on tile, 48% to 70% of bacteria transferred. Unlike the floors in these experiments, most floors aren't intentionally coated with bacteria right before we drop food on them. High school senior Jillian Clark tested typical flooring for bacteria as part of her 6-week internship in the Food and Science Department at the University of Illinois. She swabbed the floors around the college to see how bacteria excuse me, she swabbed the floors around the college to see how bacteria-laden they really were. She collected samples from hallways, dorm rooms, science labs, and the cafeteria. Surprisingly, her swab samples showed very little bacteria. She tested the floors again and got the same results. Meredith Angle, the graduate student who supervised the experiment, offered the following explanation. I think the floors, because floors are dry and most bacteria can't survive without moisture. Does that mean dry floors are safe to eat off of? Not necessarily. Odds are low that dropped food will land on a dangerous stain of bacteria, but there's always the chance it might with severe stains of E. coli. Just 10 cells or less can make you seriously ill. However, according to our survey, 87% of people admitted that they would eat food off the floor. Yet, 87% of the population isn't rushing to the hospital with food poisoning. One thing is for certain. Evaluating the risk level of eating food off the floor is more complicated than counting to 5.